So many people I speak to as I go across the country and work inside organizations really want to do work that they're proud of. They want to do work that taps their gifts and contributes something and creates real value in the world. And they're troubled when they see signs of things that might be called a downward spiral. Things like data that shows that 19% of adults feel they have to lie or cheat at least occasionally to succeed on the job. Or other data that shows that 60% of high school students have cheated at least once in the last year. 60% of the people I spoke to felt they had to alter their professional judgment to succeed on the job. These kinds of things are troubling to us because they can become catching, and the downward spiral kind of forces us to participate in the same way. The situation around us tells us the only way to get along around here is to play the game. And unfortunately, we then become part of creating that pressure for someone else. The interesting thing is this pressure can work both ways. And some of the studies about human beings and how we influence each other from the field of social psychology show that we can influence each other for better or worse. So one study, in fact, they actually had money payoffs for prizes on a self-scored math test, right? And afterwards, when people turned in their score, no one could tell how many they'd actually gotten correct. And if they said they got more, they actually got more money. Well, when they did this, 64% of the people cheated. These were students in MBA schools at 3 or 4 different schools. 64% cheated by a little bit. Then when they used poker chips to pay them and they walked across the hall to get money, the amount of cheating, basically people cheated by a little bit more. Right? Very interesting. Situational influences tipped them into cheating. But then an interesting thing happened when they did another version of the study. Before the students went into the test, they asked them to write down how many of the 10 Commandments do you remember? Not do you believe them, do you subscribe to these, is this your value system? Just how many do you remember? And it didn't matter how many people recalled. When they went into the test, cheating dropped to 0. Something that simple activated in people their sense of their higher values. This happens over and over. If we witness someone else question a decision as unethical, we're much more likely to raise it and question whether we want to go along with it. So the last time I was doing this talk, someone in the audience interrupted me right at this point. And she said, "Oh my God, what you're saying is, in addition to the downward spiral, we could actually have an upward spiral. We could actually be influencing each other, not just to try a new technology, but actually to be better people." And how would that work? What are the things that help each other actually live up to our higher values? One is there's some research that shows that when I witness a good deed, I want to do a good deed in exchange. There's also a bipartisan effort that just got started by Howard Schultz at the head of Starbucks, saying, let's create an upward spiral of confidence in the U.S. so we get out of this bipartisan gridlock. In former Soviet countries, they actually prepared themselves for democracy by helping each other be a little bit more like citizens, even in a totalitarian state. And what they did was rather funny. It's kind of a unilateral generosity that helps in this case. For example, there was one time when Václav Havel, one of the dissidents, was in a car being followed by the state police, and they were on a mountain road that was icy. And the state police car went off into a ditch because it slipped on the ice. So Václav Havel and his followers stopped their car, got out, went out, took the state police car and helped him get it back on the road, and then together they proceeded in this chase, right? You see what they're doing? They're treating each other like human beings even when the situation doesn't encourage it. Well, it turns out when we get into gridlock or unhealthy cultures or something where it's an impossible situation, this kind of unilateral generosity can actually make the difference. And so what we're doing now is starting to catalog what are the things people can do that actually help that upward spiral take off, that can be contagious. Sometimes it's saying no to something in a positive way and developing our skills for doing that. And other times it's tapping someone on the shoulder saying, is this really what you're up to? Is this really what's most important to you? Sometimes it's just trying to stay alive in a system that doesn't encourage that. Being humane, caring about people, doing quality work even when it's not rewarded. Now you might think you can't survive and do this, but there are little signs that show there's more freedom than we think, because often the people pressuring us also want to do things differently. So, for example, the head of the region for Walmart, where people were shaving timesheets and cheating people out of their pay, he said every one of his managers but one followed that practice. One person didn't. They didn't get fired. They didn't get kicked out. They actually just didn't follow that practice, and they showed it was possible. And that inspired this manager to question what he was doing.